Well, glad to be with you all here today. I live in Virginia. I'm a landowner in Virginia. I live in Rappahannock County, which is gorgeous on the eastern slopes of the Blue Ridge Mountains. So I live in the midst of a beautiful forest and a great natural environment. When I first heard about this, what's been going on down here with the wood pellet industry, I could hardly believe it. It's something out of Jonathan Swift, the great Irish satirist who wrote Gulliver's Travels, among other great satirical novels. You can't make this stuff up. Let me get this straight. We are clear-cutting America's southern forests to ship them, to turn them into wood pellets, to put them on ships which have to cross the Atlantic Ocean burning more fossil fuel, to dump them into great furnaces so that they can be incinerated to make electricity for Europeans. Are you serious? Who profits by this? Do the American people profit by this? Do Virginians profit by this? Do citizens of the United States in the Southeast profit by this? A handful of people, let's get serious, a handful of people, a handful of individuals stand to make multiple millions of dollars while the forests of the Southeast get burned up in Europe. You literally cannot make this stuff up. But wait, to add insult to injury, state of Virginia, under our former governor, McDonnell, grants from the Governor's Opportunity Fund to assist, grants from the Virginia Department of Housing to assist, grants from the Community Development Block, hundreds of thousands of dollars of taxpayers' money, Virginian taxpayers' money, at a time when we're trying to figure out how to educate our kids, how to take care of our old people, when the legislature argues over every dollar whether we should raise taxes, hundreds of thousands of dollars in wealth transfer from the citizens of Virginia to Enviva. You can't make this stuff up. This is crony capitalism at its most grotesque. A wealth transfer from the pockets of individual tax-paying Virginians to the coffers of a corporation that is burning up and destroying our forests. Is this really happening? It is, my friends, but it is up to the citizens of this great country to speak up and say, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. We have a wonderful, sustainable forest industry. This demonstration is not in opposition to our forest industry. We need paper products. We need products that the forest can provide. This is something of an entirely different order and an entirely different magnitude. This is not going to help American workers. This is not creating American jobs. This is not even creating energy for America. This is all for the profit of a few at the expense of the many. This is wrong. It must stop. You know, this concern for our forests and natural environment, this is not something new. This didn't start with us today. This didn't even start with my generation in the 60s. You know, sometimes it's been called, tree hugging or all sorts of environmental extremism. But the truth of the fact is that if you're a student of history, as I am, you know that all civilizations in all time, from the beginning of recorded history, have cared about the natural environment, have cared about their forests, and have specifically cared about their trees. Just Google it. You'll find it. The great writers in every generation. This is nothing new. We are not some fringe element. We are in the great tradition of humanity, standing up to protect nature, standing up to protect our natural environment, standing up to protect these magnificent living creatures we call trees. I brought one example with me. This is a poem, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it's a poem from the ancient Gaelic. It was written more than 1,000 years ago. It's in the book of Taliesin, those of you who know Gaelic Irish history. And it's called The Battle of the Trees. This is translated from the ancient Gaelic. When the beech prospers, through spells and litanies the oak tops entangle, there is hope for trees. From my seat at Pfeffened, a city that is strong, I watched the trees and green things hastening along. The alders in the front line began the affray. Willow and rowan tree were tardy in array. The holly, dark green, made a resolute stand. He is armed with many spear points, wounding the hand. With footbeat of the swift oak, heaven and earth rung, stout guardian of the door, his name in every tongue. Great was the gorse in battle, and the ivy at his prime. The hazel was arbiter at this charmed time. Uncouth and savage was the fir, cruel the ash tree, turns not aside a foot breadth, straight at the heart runs he. The birch, though very noble, armed himself but late, a sign not of cowardice but of high estate. The heath gave consolation to the toil-spent folk, the long-enduring poplars in battle much broke. Some of them were cast away on the field of fight, because of holes torn in them by the enemy's might. Very wrathful was the vine whose henchmen are the elms. I exalt him mightily to rulers of realms. Strong chieftains were the blackthorn with his ill fruit, the unbeloved whitethorn who wears the same suit. The swift pursuing reed, the broom with his brood, and the firs but ill-behaved until he is subdued. The dour scattering yew stood glum at the fight's fringe, with the elder slow to burn amid the fires that singe. And the blessed wild apple, laughing in pride, from the gorchen of Maeldur by the rock slide. In shelter linger privet and woodbine, inexperienced in warfare, and the courtly pine. But I, although slighted because I was not big, fought with the trees in your array on the field of Godubrig. Look at that line, who speaks to us from 1,000 years ago. With the elders slow to burn amid fires that singe. There's a French expression, plus ça change, plus c'est la même chose. The more things change, the more they stay the same. This assault on our forests is nothing new. It's just bigger, it's more dangerous, and it's more pervasive. We will stop it. We will save our forests. Thanks for coming today.